The soft piano melodies played in the background, as the surroundings provided it with such an aesthetic feeling. A protective arm wrapped around her waist guided Ryan towards the table, booked for the couple in a dimly lit restaurant. Jungkook was dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, exuded a commanding presence as he pulled back a chair for his wife, who kissed his cheek as a thank you before taking a seat. He rounded the table and let the waiter remove his coat. The waistcoat hugged his figure so perfectly, making Ryan drool on the beautiful sight. She had one handsome human as her husband, and most of the times she sat there and appreciated the sight. He took a seat as well. Jungkook's eyes locked onto Ryan's. The intensity in his gaze never wavered, yet he couldn't help but soften his expression, his eyes lingering on her with a warmth reserved only for her. Another waiter approached, and Jungkook's gaze shifted to him, instantly conveying that he held the reins in this domain. They knew him well, the world knew him well, and everyone who knew him dreaded him. Jungkook, we'll start with the finest bottle of red wine you have, he ordered, his tone broking no argument. As the waiter retreated, Jungkook's attention returned to Ryan. He held his hand out to hold hers. Jungkook, you look breathtaking today, he remarked, his thumb caressing her knuckles gently. Jungkook, but then again, you always do, he said with amusement filling his tone. She playfully rolled her eyes at the duality of her husband's nature. Ryan, thank you, darling. Soon the wine was delivered to them as the two clicked glasses and took it in. Jungkook, what would you like to order, princess? He inquired, his tone gentle, inviting her preferences with an attentiveness that betrayed his strict exterior. Vine said her preferences and he delivered it to the waiter without another question. Vine, Jungkook, I was thinking, how about next week we visit mine or yours family? I miss the familiar gathering, suddenly. It's been a long time. Jungkook, of course, as you say, tell me where do you want to go? I'll arrange it. Reminds me to see Granny as well. If there was one person in Jungkook's life he revolved around, that was his grandmother. He was such a baby to her. This strict, manly aura would fade every time he is around her. He loved her way too much to do everything she even talked about. She was the one to raise him when his parents were busy making money. She was the one to heal his wounds when he came home after bleeding and getting tortured severely at the name of training. She was the one to provide him love when he was turning into a stone cold person that he became today. Ryan. She called me 2 days ago. We talked for a long time. She told me she loved me more than you. Ryan bragged proudly, and Jungkook gave her a bombastic side eye, which earned a laugh from her. As the evening progressed, Jungkook couldn't help but glance around, a subtle reminder to those in the shadows that he was ever watchful. However, when Wine leaned in to share a whispered sentiment, he listened intently, his attention solely on her. Wine, I feel like I'm falling in love all over again, she confessed. The intensity in his eyes, the way he brought his hand forward to stroke her hair, and how all those goosebumps crawled over her skin made her retreat immediately. Wine, with the food, I mean. It's so good. She took another bite to hide the red of her cheeks. They flushed more when that hot chuckle left past his lips. Jungkook, I love you too. The night air was crisp as Jungkook and Wine exited the restaurant, his hand securely enveloping hers. The chauffeur car awaited them, a sleek vehicle ready to whisk them away from the glittering city lights. As they entered the car, Jungkook's gaze never stayed away from Wyan. Jungkook, are you tired, love? He asked, a soft concern coloring his deep voice. She nestled closer to him, a content smile gracing her lips. Wyan, a little, but the night was perfect. Jungkook's arm tightened around her, and when they arrived home, he effortlessly swept her up into his arms, her head resting against his chest. She brushed fingers against his cheek before kissing it as he took her inside. In their bedroom, he gently placed her on the bed, tucking the strands of hair that had fallen out of place behind her ear. Jungkook, rest, my queen. I'll be right back. He left at the vibration of his phone. Vine snuggled in sheets, but not before removing her makeup using cotton pads. She also removed her jewelry, too lazy to get up from bed, especially when he put her there himself. Not long after, Jungkook quietly returned. His footsteps hushed. Vine sat up. It didn't take her long to notice the shift of his aura. He was not okay, and that disturbed her. Jungkook took a seat and Vine scooted near him, placing a hand on his arm before cupping his cheeks. She turned him to face her. Vine, what happened? Tell me. He sighed, a heavy exhale that seemed to release the burdens he carried. Slowly, he lifted his eyelids as their eyes met. She saw a vulnerability that he rarely allowed to surface. Without a word, he enveloped her in a tight embrace. Seeking solace in the comfort of her presence, she immediately wrapped her arms around him, his face dug in her chest, eyes closed as she stroked her fingers through his hair. Then she felt it, wetness on her collarbone, the crystal dews that were never witnessed by her before. Never before she saw her husband this vulnerable and actually crying. She tightened her arms, feeling the need to hide and protect this beast of a man from the world. She felt a mix of emotions anger for whoever dared to hurt him, hurt and sadness for her husband, who surely was foreign to such emotions himself. Silent sobs shook his frame, each one a release of the emotions he kept tightly in check. She kissed her head and stayed calm as she could. Ryan, you don't have to carry it all alone, baby. I'm here for you, she whispered. As the minutes passed, he gradually regained control over his emotions. Jungkook pulled back, whined with a soft touch, cupped his face, and wiped away his tears. Ryan, tell me, love, what's hurting you? Jungkook, it's Granny. She had a heart attack. She's in critical condition, and I arranged special treatment for her, but it's just. Vine's heart ached for him, and she tightened her grip on his hand. Vine, we can go to her. Be by her side. Let's go tomorrow. He nodded and she gave him a gentle smile before hugging him again. Her own heart clenched at the news, but she needed to be strong for him. She kept him in his arms, quietly, and he appreciated the quiet. As the two laid and she brushed fingers through his hair and waited till he slept before drifting off to sleep herself. The next day, Jungkook and Hwan boarded a private jet. They arrived at the hospital early in the afternoon. Jungkook led Hwan down the corridors, taking the lead once again. Not that he had time to compose himself. Yet, a huge part of him relied on her. His hand tightly clasped her as he entered the room where his granny was. She looked frail, connected to the machines that monitored every heartbeat. Jungkook's breath caught the vulnerability he rarely displayed laid bare. Vine stood by his side, a silent pillar of strength. He approached the bed, his fingers gently intertwining with his grandmother's fragile hand. Jungkook, hi, beautiful lady. His grandmother's eyes fluttered open, a faint recognition lighting up her gaze. Granny, Jungkook, my dear. A weak smile graced her lips. He leaned down to kiss her forehead. Vine discreetly wiped away her tears, respecting the intimate moment between grandson and grandmother. They spent hours by her side, sharing stories, surely, that gave his grandmother much strength, remembering the good moments. As the day unfolded, Jungkook's grandmother grew visibly tired. Jungkook, ever the protective figure, brushed a strand of hair from her face. Jungkook, rest, my lady. We are here for you. She nodded and closed her eyes, but not before kissing Ryan and Jungkook's head and thanking them for paying her a visit. She also invited them home and told them she was going to prepare them a nice meal as soon as she is discharged. Jungkook fixed the sheets around her and guided Ryan out of the room. Jungkook, it never gets easy. Ryan, she's doing much better already. We can stay here with her. Remember, I was talking about a get together as well. He felt much better at her trying to ease him. He kissed her forehead and took her in his embrace and thanked her for everything, knowing the two had each other whenever the time called.